Good evening, and welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show, Post, live streaming on Facebook Live and our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports. My name is Big Reg, and I'm joined this evening by my normal partners in crime. We got the professor in the building. What's going on, Professor J? How you doing, partner?
Hey, everybody. What's up, Big Reg? What's up, team? Let's get it going. Praise the Lord.
Yay.
We got our man Ed in the building. What's going on, Ed? Glad to have you back. We missed you last week, but we know you're going to bring the fire tonight.
I miss you guys. I'm happy to be back after a little hiatus. I had to take a trip down south, and I'm good to go, ready to roll.
Dirty.
We got my brother J3 in the building. What's going on, J3? How you feeling this evening?
Feeling great. Let's do this. Let's bring it down. Let's go.
And back by popular demand, we got J Minnie in the building, bringing us the perspective of the young folks in there. What's going on, J Minnie?
Yay.
J Minnie.
Thanks for having me back. I'm excited.
Oh yeah.
So this evening, we're going to discuss some of the off the court, off the field news. We also got to get the start of the NBA playoffs, which are going on right now. Little UFC 252, Miocic versus Cormier. Boxing's battle to reestablish themselves in the market. And we got a brand new segment this evening, post hot takes and updates. And we will finish it out with our final post of the evening. So we appreciate you tuning in. Sit back, relax, enjoy Post on the Positional Sports Talk Show channel. All right, fellas and ladies, we had a very surprising announcement yesterday, something that came totally out of the blue. I definitely was not expecting it, but the Washington football team made a historic hire, naming 38-year-old Jason Wright as the first ever black president of an NFL football team.
Oh, 6. That's right.
Great.
Doing it up.
Mr. Wright, not only being the first black, he is currently the youngest active team president and only the fourth ever player ever to rise to the position of team president in the NFL.
Congratulations.
Mr. Wright will be in charge of business operations and marketing. He will basically handle all the business side of the Washington football team. And Coach Ron Rivera, who's in charge of all football operations, is in charge of all the football side of the building, including personnel, roster, draft. And listening to an interview earlier today from Mr. Wright, he said, I will have nothing to do with drafting, who the players, what plays are called. That's all on Ron Rivera's side. He's in charge of that. I'm just going to help take the business to the next level. Give y'all a little background on this great young man. Mr. Wright graduated from Northwestern University in 2004. He was actually a star running back at Northwestern. Entered himself into the NFL draft, unfortunately undrafted, but got signed as an undrafted free agent. Went to a couple of different teams, signed, got cut, but persevered. Finally catching on and sticking with the Atlanta Falcons. From there, he had a 7-year NFL career, including the 49ers, Falcons, Browns, and Cardinals. After retiring, Mr. Wright decided to continue his education. He went to the prestigious University of Chicago School of Business, received his master's degree in business administration with the emphasis on operations and finance in 2013, and then went into business for himself. After that, he became a partner with the management consulting firm of McKinsey & Company, which is actually located right here in Washington, D.C. And that's how he and the Washington football team hooked up. Because he was in business doing consulting, he had run across Mr. Snyder a couple of times. And they say about 2 months ago, they just started some conversations about, what he thought of the current situation. And their talks progressed to him being announced the new president of the Washington football team, and he starts Monday. So I'm shocked. I'm proud, but I also got a little skepticism. So let me open it up. What do y'all think about the hire?
Yeah, I had to pinch myself and make sure it wasn't Black History Month. So it's good to see. Man, I'm trying to tell you, it's good to see that young brother get his shot, because the moment he opened his mouth and said some of the things that he said, I knew he was the right hire. I mean, he's very articulate. I mean, it goes without saying he's very smart, but he knows the game. In fact, I place him up there already now with the likes of Louis Riddick, because I've been pining for years that they should bring Louis Riddick back into the organization and make him the president. And that's how much I respect him. But having one of my alpha brothers to take over that role, I mean, I got to say, it's a great hire. Just like you, Big Reg, I'm shocked, but I'm so happy and glad that he is in that position, because I started to lose all hope with this organization.
Well, Professor J, speaking of Louis Riddick, you still have hope for that, because Ron Rivera should coach. They should actually bring in someone who can run the football operations, and that's it. Ron Rivera is not Bill Belichick, but we're gonna get back to that in a minute. But as far as Jason Wright he didn't come from out of nowhere. Allegedly, Roger Goodell has been trying to woo him to the league office for several years now. And so he's been on the radar, and he kept turning Roger, according to reports, he kept telling Roger Goodell, no. But league people in the know have known about this young man for quite some time right now, dating back several years. So he's been on the radar. So I guess this was the right situation, because he's already in the DC area, and also, I mean, there's no way to go but up as far as the Washington franchise is concerned. So I think it's a perfect opportunity, and I'm actually glad he's not being set up to fail, so to speak, because he's just concentrating on the business aspect. Although in my opinion, he's probably more qualified to handle the football operation side too, but because of the mess and potential lawsuits and legal ramifications coming out of the business side of the Washington football franchise, I'm glad he can just concentrate on that, because he has his work cut out for him. But again, I'm like Professor J and you too, Big Reg. I'm going to take a back seat and have some reservation as far as the motives behind this. But at the same time, I'm fully supporting it, because, hey, he's the first, and someone had to be the first, and I'm glad he's getting his opportunity right now.
So what do you think Danny Boy said to him to get him to actually take the job?
Well, again, he's a clever individual. So Dan can't come to him with no okey doke. Exactly what conversations took place, we could only speculate. But I'm sure this man is ambitious, as laid out through his resume, and He's persistent, as evidenced by he wasn't drafted. He worked through several teams. Then decided to call it a career, go back and further educate himself. So his drive is there, and I just think that he probably looked at it saying, you know what, this is the perfect. The community is already going to be behind him, because you have to look at the demographics of the primary fan base of the Washington franchise. Mm-hmm. I'm not playing any race cards. I'm just stating the facts.
It is what it is, yeah.
So he just probably looked at the whole atmosphere. And I think Dan Snyder, we've said this, I've said it at least in the past, he might not be the best person. He might not be well liked within the community or Redskins Nation, but he's not dumb. No matter what, he's not dumb. Plus, he's getting a lot of outside pressure. Besides the lawsuits, he's getting it within his own franchise with his minority owners, continuously pressuring him to sell the franchise. So if he can bring this young man in and somehow stabilize it, it's a win-win for everyone involved. Mr. Wright is a superstar and a pioneer, and hopefully Dan Snyder's can save some sort of face and actually be considered a good human.
So what I wanted to say about it was, by Mr. Snyder trying to say he wanted to change the culture in the Washington Football Club. This is excellent for diversity and inclusion. I mean, what better way to bring in the African American to run your presidential slot as an African American male who actually knows about the game as well as business side. Now he's not gonna, just like you said, he's not gonna be in the football side. He's gonna be on the business side, but he does have that knowledge to be able to whisper in Mr. Ron Rivera's ear if he need to.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Mr. G Money, of course, the Dallas Cowboy fan, is going to.
Yeah, we don't really want to hear from him tonight. we can keep going.
So it's interesting though, J3. You brought up a very, very good point, talking about diversity and change management, inclusion. When Mr. Wright was with his former employer, where he was a partner, his major focus was helping businesses and companies deal with organizational culture and diversity and inclusion. So, I mean, he checks all the boxes that I'm sure Dan Snyder was looking for. And if he's smart, and if we think that he's truly resetting this franchise, which everything seems to point that direction. First with the Ron Rivera hire. They do have a person in the GM role. Don't forget they promoted Mr. Smith, who was in pro personnel. So he's now kind of head of player personnel and kind of the unofficial GM spot, but he answers to Ron Rivera instead of Ron Rivera answering to him. Mm-hmm. And now you've got a whole new side on the business side, and we can't forget the hiring of Julie Donaldson to take care of all the media. Yeah. She first female to be a vice president of an NFL team. So he can really, really reset this whole organization and push this forward if he doesn't get in his own way.
Right. And Big Red, I think that interesting thing here is the fact that don't forget that new stadium deal is still lingering out there. So if Mr. Wright can broker that deal and get the team back into Washington, D.C., man, this would be a huge win, not only for him, but his name would be mentioned up there with the likes of Masai Ujiri up in Toronto for being able to turn a franchise around. Now, we can start talking championship on a separate level, but right now, we just got to get them out of the doldrums right now. And I think with Donaldson and Wright and some of the changes that they're making right now, they trending in the right direction.
Don't forget Haskins.
The only problem I have with the whole situation, though, is that I wish they would have hired Jason Wright first. Before they hired anyone else, I wish they would have started with him.
Go ahead, Ed.
Well, hold on. The only reason I say this is because if he's the boss on the business side of things, and okay, let's just handle the business side. If he's the boss on the business side of things, anything related to business, whether it be media, whether it be public relations, whatever, he should have made those decisions as far as who to hire and who to fire. That's the only thing. That's the only.
Before you walk, Ed. You gotta crawl before you walk. Come on, man.
J3, I'm not criticizing anything. I'm just saying I wish. These are my wish lists, and this is my opinion. This is that's our show. That's our show. This is my opinion. I just wish.
We ain't talking about the Steelers.
Oh, here we go.
Now go ahead.
All I wish is that
J3 trying to derail the shit.
If you're giving the man the keys to the kingdom, let the man make the decisions to that particular kingdom. Don't make it for him and say, hey, these are the people we hired. Now you work with them. Although you're the boss, I hired these people, so when you got here, you wouldn't have to worry about hiring them. That's all I'm saying.
Danny already put his foot in his mouth though, because he wanted this coach-centric approach. So he gave the keys to Ron well before he started going down this path. And remember, this is pre-Washington Post article too. So all this stuff was still going on while he's hiring his new coach/GM. And then he started promoting the other guy to GM, and then started cleaning house with the other stuff because he got dirt and mud all over his face at that point. And now with the minority owners putting pressure on him, I'm gonna return back to an earlier point that you made and be a little conspiracy theorist. If Roger Goodell already knew about Jason Wright, maybe he told Dan that this would be a smart hire so he can get the minority owners off of his back and then try to keep his team, because the other owners are also watching what's going on in Washington. So maybe all of this, the name change, putting Julie Donaldson in place, bringing in Jason Wright, all of this is probably just because he wants to protect his financial investment and keep his team.
Ding, 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 ding. Hit it on the head.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you this. I don't care how he got in a position.
Yes,
he got the position that nobody else had. Yep. And not only did he get the position, this is a highly qualified young black man getting this position. 90% of the student population can't get in the Northwestern.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Of the 10% that can get in Northwestern, 90% of them can't get into the University of Chicago Business School for grad school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is an elite guy.
I know Mike Wilbon is happy.
And even in his interview today, I saw he said, "I'm a nerd at heart." And what intrigued me about this job was this was the first real opportunity I ever saw where I was able to bring my two big passions, bring them together, my nerd business side of me and my football athletic side, and be able to bring them together. But he said, my nerd side is what I really want to do, is show and flex my muscles in the business world.
Right.
Good stuff.
Yeah, he was also pre-med too at Northwestern. That brother smart.
Yeah. So we'll look forward to see what's happening. And again, he said based on what his new contract is, just like Ron Rivera has full control on the football side and final say, he says he has full control on the business side. He can hire who he wants, fire who he wants, and he's the final say.
Hey, can I ask you, Washington football team, lifelong fans? Can I ask you guys anyone can answer? Ask no sarcasm. Did Mr. Allen, who just recently got dismissed or relieved of his duties, did he have his duties split between football and business too, or did he have everything?
He had everything.
He started though on the business side.
Mm-hmm.
He was originally brought in on the business side, and then he slowly gained more and more control on the football operations side till he was ahead of everything.
I got you.
Yeah, under Jay Gruden, that was always the plan because they knew Jay Gruden was weak. So they just wanted him. They just wanted him to do the X and O's.
Let's move on. Let's move on. So, Jay Minnie, you don't have anything to add to this? I know you're not a Washington football team fan. Your family's brainwashed you.
Yeah, so let's move on.
Wow.
Nah, but she a Ravens fan, so don't sleep on her.
Okay, then we want to hear.
Let's move on.
Come on, Jay Minnie.
We think we may have hit a dead spot with her. You still with us?
Yeah, she back on.
Yeah, get him. Because Ed was talking trash, Jay Minnie.
No, it wasn't. I like it.
Right. He jinxed it.
All right, well, let's move on to the next subject. For all the parents out there and for all the college students out there, college campuses are bringing kids back to school. And I tell you, I was nervous going into this, and my daughter's already graduated out of grad school, out of law school, but I was just nervous for all the parents out there, and especially the kids. And then over the weekend, if you follow anything on social media, there were multiple social media posts of parties, bars, clubs, which college students packed side by side, 100, 200,000 deep. No mask to be found. And now, one of the most prestigious public universities in the United States and also the world, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, after having students on the campus for approximately 9 days, have had to shut down the campus, convert back to online learning for the semester because they've had not one, not two, multiple cluster outbreaks in the different dorms and different buildings on campus.
I wonder why.
Man, I'll tell you what. You know what? I blame the power brokers of the NCAA, starting with Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, and all those college presidents and chancellors, ADs, and head coaches that continue this plantation system of football. Because here's the thing. This did not have to be this way.
Nope.
What's going on, this is what's happening. The NCAA painted themselves in a corner when they announced several months ago, and all these presidents start getting on ESPN and all the other news media outlets and saying, well, I can't imagine sports existing and we don't have students on the campus, because they refuse to admit and acknowledge that these football players are not amateurs. The business of college football and the Power 5 conferences have no semblance of amateurism, and they need to stop the charade. But see, they painted themselves in the corner by saying, well, we can't have students on campus. If we can't have students on campus, we can't play our beloved football. Well, guess what? They're bringing these students back. They know good and well that they are not qualified or equipped to handle 30, 40, 50, 60,000 kids packed like sardines in these dormitories, these stadiums, and these general areas. They can't handle it. Of course, they're going to have outbreaks. Look, I was down on one of the top Southern universities this past week, and I drove around that campus for 3 days, on and off for 3 days. And if I seen a mask, my name ain't Edward. I'm telling you. That's not what I wanted to say, but we're going to roll with that.
We're going to keep it clean. We're going to keep it clean.
That's real sad.
All I'm saying, the NCAA has no one else to blame but themselves, and they could have avoided it. All they had to do is say, we're going to go all online, and only people on the campus are going to be football players. So in a sense, they were going to create like a miniature bubble. But they refuse to do that because as soon as they do it, the lawsuits are already swirling. It's in the air with the NDL name, image, and license agreements. It's already in the air that change is coming. And so to hold on to any semblance of power and control, these kids are on campus suffering. And tell you what, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill is just the first. And they're not going to be the last. Because those universities in the South, from the SEC and the ACC primarily, those universities, well, but they canceled their season. So whether or not they're on, well, you can answer that, Jay Minnie. But the kids that go to school in the Big 12, it's coming. It's just a matter of time. It's coming.
All right, Jay Minnie. Let me know your thoughts, because I really, really wanted to hear your thoughts about this. I talked to my daughter a little bit about this morning, about what your thoughts are about what's going on these college campuses, and do you think? Just give me your thoughts. I won't lead you.
Well, I know from my school, Jackson State, they told basically the fall athletes, don't come back this semester. They told them that they would reserve their housing and all this stuff would be set for the spring semester. But what that did was that put all the regular students in jeopardy of not having housing. So they've given the athletes almost like a pass to say, y'all don't have to come back to school, y'all can do online and everything will be okay. Whereas the regular students, if we don't get housing, we have to find off-campus housing, which is going to cost more. But I applaud Jackson State for doing the right thing and being selective about who they let on campus. They also have quarantine rooms on campus where if a student does get sick, they'll be in a room somewhere on campus by themselves, unbothered. So I think that some schools are on a different page than others, which is sad because I think all of us should be on the same page. But I also think that nobody really knows what to do. It's all hearsay and nobody's listening to the doctors. Nobody's listening to politicians at all. Nobody's listening to each other.
Dr.
So
Fauci.
they're pretty much just giving the schools free reign to do whatever they want to do. But I know that for my school, they're saying that we're going to have fall and spring sports both competing in the spring.
Hey, Jay Benny, can I ask you a quick question? So to be clear, is Jackson State having classes this fall with students in person, or have they gone to a completely 100% online format?
The only classes that are in person are the classes that you have to be there for, like lab classes. So I know biology is going to class, chemistry, all the pre-med, all the STEM majors. I know they have at least one class a week where they have to go. Same goes for ROTC. ROTC has to go to campus one day a week to participate in the field studies and stuff.
So do you have to return to campus in a few weeks?
No, my mother told me no. So I won't be going back.
I applaud your mom.
No, don't applaud my mom. I wanted to go back.
No, we want your safety, sweetie. That's more important.
Well, Jay Minnie, that's interesting. That's interesting. So you said you wanted to go back. So did you not have reservations about getting sick, or did you trust yourself to be able to avoid the virus?
I trust myself to avoid it, mainly because I spent my first 2 semesters in my dorm anyway. So it wasn't going to be any different classes. All my classes were already going to be online because I don't have any labs. So the only thing that did surprise me was that when I canceled my housing for the fall, they said that it's not guaranteed in the spring, meaning that I'll basically almost miss a whole year of being on campus and being at home taking classes.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question just as far as mentality? What do you think about these students who are getting to school and immediately going to these big parties and to these clubs and to these bars within the first week of arriving on campus?
Okay, so I will say that my best friend, she goes to Eastern Shore, and she texted me this past couple of days, and she said that she tested positive, and she definitely went to a party within her first weekend. So I was just like, I was kind of upset with her because she was the one who had all these reservations while being at home, or she made appointments to go everywhere. She wasn't going anywhere without, making sure she was prepared to go to these places. And then she goes to school and gets sick. I'm like, what did you do? Where did you go wrong? Because if you're going to go to school, you need to have a plan. You need to have all your stuff in order, your PPE, your hand sanitizer, your mask, your gloves. You need to have everything in order from when you go to school. You also need to have a mindset of anybody can catch this, and this is not something to play with. Like, I know my generation is they're taking this as a joke. Like, it's not serious to them. To them, this is just the flu. And it's not the flu. This is killing people. This is killing people at a higher rate than it is the flu. People are dying. Students are losing their lives to this. That high school in Georgia had to quarantine over 1,000 students just because they wanted to go to school.
Yeah.
I would love to go back to school. I want to go back to school, but I can't imagine going to school with the mindset of I'm going to school because I want to have fun. I want to go to parties. I want to go out and hang out with everybody. I can't imagine having that mindset if I was going to school. Especially knowing that my mom and my grandmother both have limitations when it comes to this virus. I even when I leave the house every day, I know that I could potentially get sick, or I could bring something home that can make them sick. And that's something that I can't afford to play with.
Bravo.
Bravo. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Real talk.
Cause, excuse me. My daughter this morning was telling me that while she didn't agree with what was going on, she was like, what do you expect 18 to 22-year-olds to do? For a lot of them, this is their first time away from home. They're totally left on their own, even though everybody's told them everything not to do. Now they're on a situation hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from home. Nobody's there to supervise these colleges and universities while they have expectations and they're having people sign student bill of rights and COVID-19 responsibilities, basically some of them sign liability waivers away. She's like, 18 to 22-year-olds are going to want to be around each other, especially when there are thousands of them in the same building, hundreds of them on the same floor at the same time. And I couldn't argue with that.
So Big Reg, I completely agree with your daughter. The only thing I will add to that, or I would say, is that from my observations of being down in Alabama this past week and riding around their campus, and then also being within the community, because it was move-in week starting last week when I was there. And the only thing I did observe was a lot of things that how kids act, whether they're home or away, is based on home training. You know, we know about this home training amongst ourselves. And so if I'm looking at the parent and the daughter or the son, and they walking around town with no mask on in a known hotspot, then how do I expect them when their parents leave to act any different? They wasn't wearing masks with their parents around. So why they gonna wear a mask? Why they gonna wear a mask or social distance when their parents are gone? It doesn't add up.
Good point.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you know, it's a demographic thing. It's a regional thing. You know, and they've politicized, unfortunately, this virus, where they have these folks, certain folks, believing that it's okay, it's a hoax, it's the media, and the hot weather, or you just it's an old person disease or a sick people disease or what have you. So if you have these people with the mindset of believing that it's not really going to affect us, we don't fall in those categories, you know, African American is affecting the brown people a lot, and those are facts. If you see this, you know, they're not gonna act any different. I mean, they're not going to think it can affect them, and they're going to act accordingly. And you're going to have breakouts like you have on UNC.
And those are the ones that's drinking the bleach and the hydrochloroform because they drinking that nasty Kool-Aid. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, like you said, it's a learned behavior, and I'm gonna leave it alone, but I'm gonna give my 2 cents. I mean, you have young people. I have 2 of my own that are down at Fort Valley State, and they're in college right now. And when I ask them, are you wearing your PPE? Are you taking the precautions? Are you washing your hands and doing everything you're supposed to do? It's like, yeah, Dad, we're doing everything we need to. What's going on the campus? A lot of our friends are doing what they need to do. So the HBCUs tend to get the message a lot better than some of the other schools. But again, if these are the conversations and the way that you train and raise your children, and I don't want to question anybody's intelligence, but if you know that there's a virus going across the country and you've been told how it spreads, but yet you want to knock it off, hit it to the side, thinking that it's not serious, let it touch somebody that you know. Let it hit home, and then maybe it'll start changing for you. But where we understand something more than others is that we already know people that is affected and that is touched. And maybe if people started sobering up with that idea that this could actually happen, then we can lessen some of these cases and get our country trending in the right direction. I mean, our people to the north, Canada, they did it right. And why can't we? Why don't we understand what it takes to actually change what's going on? And guess what, y'all? We could have had some semblance of sports right now had we done what we were supposed to do.
Lack of leadership.
I feel you. You got anything else to add to this, J. Minnie?
I know that from my school, they are sending out emails every day from the COVID response team that they have on school. And they are doing what they're supposed to do and letting us know when somebody who is associated with Jackson State has contracted it. Like I got an email like last week that said a teacher has gotten it. They didn't say who the teacher was. I don't think they can because of privacy reasons, but they are letting us know, hey, somebody else has it. You know, be more precautious, take necessary precautions. I know that there have been, I'm not gonna say they're parties, but they have had a couple of nighttime functions outside in the open. Everybody was distancing from what I saw. And I'm actually really proud of a lot of the HBCUs that are taking the necessary precautions for this virus.
Yes.
Anyway.
Amen.
That's good. Which brings us back to the sports angle on this. So now you've got an ACC school that is shut down their campus to everybody except for the football team.
Just greedy. They just greedy.
So that veil that Ed was talking about earlier is really coming off. And they said, even this afternoon, that they plan on still playing football.
They just greedy.
As more and more schools pop up with the same situation, do you think we're going to get to that last week in September where college football is supposed to kick off and they actually have college football in the ACC, SEC, and the Big 12?
No.
I think they're going full steam ahead because you got to remember, if you look at the demographics of a football team, and you could just look at any roster. We're not talking about the Ivy League, but if you just look at the rosters on a football team, the boosters, the powerful boosters, and the administrators and the presidents, and that's not their kids playing. So if one or two of them get sick, that's just collateral damage.
But what if one or two of them gets really sick and like in the hospital? And I hate to say, what if we lose a player? Then what? What are we going to do with the player?
Jay Minnie, we've had a player knocking on death's door that may never be the same again at Indiana. We've had that, and the mother posted it on Facebook. All the sports agencies, all the news agencies picked up on it. They've ran the story, and they still going. Well, the Big Ten thankfully, because they have proper leadership, they've shut their season down. But again, you have parents from that same conference. Now they want to be heard. I've been screaming for 4 months. For 4 months since this thing.
Where the parents at?
Where the parents at? Where the parents at against it? Now all of a sudden, someone makes an executive decision and says, you know what? That's it. Now they want to be heard. So So they have in football. The ACC, which primarily their entire league is in the South. The SEC, primarily the entire team, all the league is in the South. The Big 12, they might not be technically in the South, but they in the Midwest. They kind of in the Midwest,
Southwest,
Texas, Southwest.
Yeah.
They're gonna have football now. Whether it's successful, we can't answer that at this point. Without there might be an interruption, but that first game is kicking off.
Hey, let's go to the root of everything that we always concluded when we get to the end of these conversations. It's all about that mighty dollar. The OJs and told us before, it's all about that love of money and that mighty dollar. I believe the selfishness that goes on, especially in the ranks of head coaching, I believe Matt Brown would roll his grandson out there to play football right now if it means that they can have a football season. And I'm dead serious. And that's a sad commentary on where we are in this country, because who are the biggest mouths? The coaches that make the most money. They want to see football. They want to see it now. They want. I mean, think about it. Coach K already talking about we better have a tournament next year because it's a revenue generator. Everybody is surrounding their opinions based on that money. And if you're a person that directly benefits from that dollar, of course you want sports to happen. So yes, I think we will see some football on the field. Will we finish the season? I don't think so. But I do believe we're going to have a player that dies because of this. We will.
And that's going to be heartbreaking. That's going to be heartbreaking to the whole football community, the whole college football community. That's going to be heartbreaking.
But Jay Manny, these head coaches will shed a tear. These presidents will shed a tear, and they're going to keep on going. I'm telling you.
They're going to play in their honor. They're going to play in their honor.
Next man up.
Yeah.
Let's widen the scope. This ain't just about sports. Why are these kids back on campus?
Bingo.
I
can answer that.
Because you can't charge them room and board if they're not on campus.
Yeah. University of Maryland.
The local communities that surround the campuses say we can't afford for you not to have all these college kids come in and ship in. That's our economy.
College Park. Yep.
All of these people are using what do they call what is it? The people that look up statistics and the probability insurance companies use. No,
statisticians.
Actuaries.
Actuaries.
Okay.
All these universities are using actuaries and figuring out what is the probability of somebody getting very sick or even possibly dying, and versus how much money we're going to bring in revenue, and they're making a decision based off of that. They don't care about the kids. So we can throw all that out, whether it's playing sports or just going to these universities. They don't care about the kids. It's all about them making money and keeping these places open.
So sad.
I think it's partially that, but I know I have friends that were begging their parents to go back to school. Begging.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's child abuse. We need to call social services.
Because it's just like from my parents' financial status, they could. I'm students in the necessary fashion that they would on campus. I had to look at it from that point of view. I also had to look at it from the point of view of students who are actively involved in these on-campus organizations that are actually beneficial to the campus and the whole business aspect of that. It's a lot more into it than just these colleges needing money, because I know they charge me a fee just for not going to school. They charge me a fee for going to school online, not just tuition. They charge me for living off campus, and they trust me. They're making money from the students not coming to campus. They are definitely still making money, but I also think that students really want to go back to school. They've been stuck at home since March, some April. They are dying to go back to school. They want their freedom back. They want their lives back. They just want to be independent. And if you're willing to get sick to have your independence, then that's just on them.
You can be independent at home.
Well, J Minnie, I know one day, you know, you're gonna have a family. You're gonna have a family. You're gonna have to make decisions like this. But it's a parent's responsibility. It's the parent's responsibility to protect their child. And I know an 18, 19, 20-year-old ain't necessarily considered a child in their own eyes, but to a parent's eyes, that's our children. That's our child.
And you can be independent at home.
And sometimes we have to make decisions. I don't care if you want your freedom. And I don't care what you want. See, back in the day, kids really didn't have rights. I know you kind of y'all people don't know that. Everybody, Professor J, J3, Big Reg, J Minnie, your parents, they probably didn't. We probably didn't have rights. We whatever was said, that's how it was. That's
right. You better not open your mouth. How about that?
And so now, when you say that these children, your peers, they want their freedom and they want to go back and they begging their parents to go back. They can beg all they want. It's my responsibility to protect you until you don't need protected no more.
Now, Big Ed, is that a daughter thing? Because I'm gonna rewind back the clock real quick. Based on what you just said, when I turned 18, I had a job, I was going to school, I was living on my own. There was no way my parents were going to take my independence away from me at that point. And I'm just speaking boldly because that's the truth from my eyes and the way I see it. So some kids today, hold on, let me finish. Some kids today are mature enough to be independent and live on their own, whether they live down south or whether they live at home. I'm saying I was one of them, and I raised my kids to be the same way. So there are people out there that can still live independently and yet be responsible, because I trust my kids. I trust that what they telling me is what they're doing when they down there. Now, if it comes out another way, then we have a different conversation. But I gotta have that trust and allow them to live, because that's what I demanded from my parents when I went away to go to school. I'm just speaking for me, though.
But J3, I agree with you. I'm sorry, J Manny, but J3, I agree with you. But have you ever heard that term or something to that like this term? You can't go to a gunfight with a slingshot. And so even though you've trained your kids, or there's millions of children that aren't crazy and do the right things in the way they're supposed to do, but if they're the minority in something, they're gonna suffer because the majority ain't necessarily listening. So they can get caught up in some mess, and they've been doing all the right things. They've been 6 feet, they ain't been partying, they've been wearing a mask, they've been washing their hands, and just because they step into a classroom with 20 other students that's been partying all night at Sigma Phi Foo or whatever they want to call it, they're gonna get sick by just being around them.
I mean, same thing with a grocery store, same thing anywhere else we go with people. But we got to be able to live our lives, but still protect ourselves at the same right, and then go back home when you're done doing what you need to do. So we kind of saying the same thing, just from different angles.
There's one little difference, though. In a grocery store or in a store, you're not sitting in a place for 50 minutes, 90 minutes, 2 hours, side by side. And
depending on what store you're in. You've been to Costco and Sam's lately? Yeah. You've been to Target lately? Yeah. Sometimes
I go first thing in the morning before everybody get up, so I don't deal with those problems. But I mean,
so you got online classes is the way to go.
You got to sit multiple classes side by side in universities that don't generally have ventilation systems appropriate enough to circulate enough air to keep this virus from not affecting people. So like Ed said, you can just be sitting in the class, did everything right, and come up and get sick and be one of the ones that gets affected very adversely and could end up hospitalized or worst case scenario.
But here's the difference, and I think this where Jay Minnie was going. My kids are on campus, but they're taking online classes. So they have their freedom, but they're also practicing that safety at the same time.
I hear you. I hear you. Well,
So
I didn't
why
think.
did you let?
Go ahead, Jay Minnie.
I think you were saying, why did I let them go to school? Because it's ultimately their choice. They're grown. And all I can do is pray over them, but let them make their own informed decision in order to be able to go to school, but in order to be on campus, but take their classes online. It was their choice. And I live with that because I expect the same thing when I was 18. If we had a pandemic going on, I would like for my parents to allow me to make an informed decision for myself as well.
I hear you. I hear you. All right. Well, we went real deep into this. I had no idea we were going to get this deep into this. So, Jay Minnie, I truly appreciate you coming in and talking to us from your point of view, because it's really important for us old folks to get your young guys' point of view, the people who actually have to live it and deal with it. So I know you're on the road and you made special arrangements to do this. So we appreciate you. Y'all be safe on the road. Get home safely.
Of course.
Text
I'll
me
let
when I get
everybody
home.
know when I'm. Of course, I will text everybody when I get home.
Roger that. Thank you.
Amen.
Be safe, Jay Minnie. Thank you.
Bye.
Amen. See you.
All right, fellas, let's get into some real sports now. The NBA kicked off the 2020 playoffs. And
Finally.
woo!
Wow.
Before we even got into the 2020 playoffs, we got to talk about the play-in game on Saturday. I mean,
Woo, straight fire.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a great game.
what did we say? Dame Leonard had a quiet 33 on Saturday?
Yeah.
He wasn't even the star. He wasn't even the star of his own team.
Right. CJ.
Yeah, you had his boy CJ step up and take him home in the fourth quarter.
Dynamic duo right there.
But but the big fella from
Nurkic.
Joseph.
Yeah, Nurkic.
The big fella had 2020, and unfortunately,
monster.
He had 2020, knowing that his grandmother had just succumbed to COVID-19.
Yes, that was sad.
You had Memphis and star point guard Ja Morant, rookie, dropped 35.
He a beast, man. Rookie of the year. Period.
Yeah,
and Memphis, who in my opinion got a raw deal anyway, because they entered the playoffs when the season shut down in March. They were 3.5 up, but the NBA wanted every opportunity to try to get Zion Williamson into the playoffs. So they came up with this raggedy play-in system, this round robin, if you will, where teams would go in for, it was called a seed, and they were going to seed to teams. And if you really look at it, there has been some movement, but for the most part, now it did benefit Portland. And if you remember, Dame was one of the guys that was like, look, I'm not going to go back to this restart if it's going to be a charade, because he knew they was trying to get, he knew who they was wanted to be in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
But he ended up coming into the bubble and being the MVP of the bubble. And we probably can all agree to that during the seeding rounds. He probably was the MVP.
Yep.
But the game had it all, man. It had it all. And I'm sorry that Memphis was without their second best player, Jaren Jackson Jr. Everybody listening knows who Jaren Jackson is, went to G-Town. But his son is a 6'11" beast sophomore. He was picked 4th in the draft right after the best player in the NBA right now, Luka Doncic, was picked 3rd. But yeah, I wish he would have been there to help to probably level the playing field. But again, hats off to Memphis. Even though they got shafted, they showed heart.
They show potential for next year. That's for sure.
And then it came out after the game was over. Ja Morant played the last 4 games with a broken thumb.
Crazy.
Beast
and
mode.
still was giving people hell.
Beast mode.
Yeah, I like that he was going to the rim. He wasn't, he wasn't saying, okay, well, I got to settle for this mid range, or I got to jack up a 3. And that's that's even though that's part of his game, he probably is going to need to work on a little bit as far as his outside shot.
Yeah,
but he was like, this got me this far. I'm going to the hole strong.
Inside, outside, all day. Don't sleep on him, or you're gonna get dunked on.
And before we move on to the actual playoff matchups, I gotta give a shout out and a thumbs up to the Phoenix Suns, who was a team that everybody said shouldn't be in the bubble, and went 8-0, beating everybody in their way, and came within a last-second shot of them qualifying for the play-in game. So the Phoenix Suns got a lot to look forward to as well.
As long as they keep the team together and they come back healthy next year, they'll definitely be contenders.
That's right.
All right, so let's look at these matchups. So you ended up with the Trailblazers did all that work to get into the 8th seed, and the reward is LeBron and the Lakers in the first round. They actually play their first game tonight at 9 p.m.
Should be interesting.
Right. Can't wait. Can't wait.
What's the prediction? Talk to me. What's the prediction?
Oh, I got the Blazers taking them out. I'm with Chuck Barkley on this one. I'm with Sir Charles on this one.
I'm a hold off on. I know we did predictions a few weeks ago, but I'm gonna hold off on predictions because this bubble has proven to me that things ain't the same as it normally is. The only thing I can say is the same is the referees still need to get out their own way. And I was watching the Cavaliers. I was watching the Clippers. I was watching the Clippers and the Mavs game last night, and I was so disgusted that I wanted to throw my computer. But of course, I can't throw my computer, or I couldn't be on here tonight. But I wanted to throw it because they teed up the big fella, Porzingis.
Yeah.
He got he collected his second technical foul. And it's not so much that he got ejected because that's the rules. 2 techs, you're out. But the problem I had with this was that if you watch the technical fouls that he got, and I'm not one of those people to say I had to walk 5 miles to school and back in the day, but I am going to say at this point, those technicals in playoff basketball, they shouldn't even exist. They shouldn't have happened. It was so inconsequential, but so impactful on the outcome of the game that it made me sick. Luka Doncic he was clearly the best player in that building last night. And I don't care about what kind.
He was. Yeah, he was.
I don't know. Kawhi, Paul George, none of them can handle him. And we all watch the games. None of them can do anything with that 21-year-old man.
What about them 11 turnovers, Ed?
Hey, man, sometimes it happens.
He almost had a quadruple double with the turnovers.
Sometimes it happens.
But it's a 5-on-5 team sport. One person ain't gonna do it all the time, bro. He needed help. He didn't get it. Period.
Right. They was kicking the Clippers behind until they kicked Porzingis out the game.
Yeah,
they
that's
were
the
up
referee.
like 14. So yeah, but Porzingis has got to be smarter. He trying to prove that he's a tough guy. You can't mess with them Morris guys and act like you a tough guy.
Right. Sure can't. Sure can't.
Sit your ass down.
So that Clippers and Mavs game, we basically did an overview of what that happened last night. You got the Nuggets and the Jazz.
Wow.
I don't know if y'all saw that game.
Great game.
Oh my God.
Paul Millsap.
The first game of the playoffs goes into overtime. Donovan Mitchell dropped 57.
57.
And
that Heinz 57 sauce. Yeah. He gave him that Heinz 57 sauce.
Well, J3, you talk about one man can't win it. Donovan Mitchell, if he don't get out of Utah, he's never going to win. Because as good as Rudy Gobert is supposed to be on defense, he has no help. Like, who is the number two scorer for the Utah Jazz? Like, go ahead, go right now. Who can you think of? Like, who? He has nobody to help him. Like, nobody.
I agree. But if you think about it, that's just like back when Malone and Stockton played. It was just them two. Nobody else. I mean, you may name some other players, but they didn't score like those two did. And it's the same.
At least
you making that
Malone,
dude Brian Russell mad right now, man.
Okay.
Brian Russell.
How many rings does Brian Russell have?
Who? Coming from getting
but at least the mailman had a Robin. You know what this reminds me of? Except this reminds me of when the great LeBron James at 22 years old took a bum Cavaliers team with the second best player of bum Mo Williams. I don't know how Mo Williams should have just donated his whole contract except like for 10% to LeBron James.
Mo Williams was not the second best player on that team. It was Big Z. It was Big Z, the center.
Right. The cream puff that never could stay healthy because he had bad feet. That's who it was. You right. My bad. Big Z. My bad. I apologize. Big Zagrawskis, whatever his name was. Yeah, but you're right. But Donovan don't have no help, man. And Denver, I tell you what, everybody talk about the Lakers who's the best, the Clippers or the Lakers or whatnot. Look, Denver got a squad, fellas.
Denver got a squad.
Denver got a squad. They got big people that
healthy
can
and
shoot.
slim.
Yes. Yes.
And can run up the court too. Woo.
Yes.
It sure can.
I mean, you got Jamal Murray. You got you got the Joker, the big fella at center.
Yeah. Jokic.
You got what's the young kid out of Missouri that stayed hurt? Oh shoot. The big fella that shoot.
He was the number one player in the country. He was hurt in college, didn't play, sat out his first year.
Right.
Yeah, he dropped 14 or 16 in the first half.
Yeah.
Right.
Before he went cold. But Jamal Murray, he went off in that fourth quarter. He went off. He said, Donovan going off, I got to go off. He dropped 38. And at the end of the game, what was funny, he said, how many did he score? He dropped a 57 piece on us. That's crazy. I think that's going 7. That's going to be a good series to watch because they equally match. That's going to be a good series. But I'm with you.
Michael Porter. That's who
Michael Porter.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Porter Jr.
Michael Porter Jr. But yeah, I'm with you, Ed. Denver going to be a problem. If they get out the first round, Denver going to be a problem for anybody that they play.
I see them getting out of the first round. It might be a good series, but I think ultimately, they're going to get out of the first round.
Ooh.
And then you got the grudge match, which is on right now, Houston against OKC. Houston is beating OKC behind right now.
Just some garbage. It's a trash game.
So we'll see. But let's go to the Eastern Conference.
Oh.
Where the first game of the day today, which was supposed to be, an easy, breezy game.
Yeah, how about that?
That's why they put them on at 1:30 because they figured this gonna be a blowout.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Orlando Magic put it on
the Bucks.
The Bucks. They put it.
Yeah, they look like the Bucks.
They took control of that game in the second quarter, and from the second quarter on, they was in control of that game and had a double-digit lead for most of the game. I mean, let's think about it. The Bucks been struggling. Right. The Bucks been struggling. They were struggling before Giannis got hurt. They remember before we took the break, Giannis was hurt. They struggled since they've been in the bubble. Yeah, the Magic have home court advantage, but ain't no fans in the building. Come on, that Rod. Ain't no fans in the building, so that doesn't.
But they are playing at home.
So
Yeah, they outside.
So here's what I saw today. Here's what I saw today. I saw that Toronto gave everybody the blueprint on how to defeat Giannis in high stakes basketball last year. Giannis, first of all, he's by himself. We talk about Donovan Mitchell being by himself. Chris Middleton is a bum. I don't know how he is the number 2 scorer or the number 2 player on the Milwaukee Bucks. He's a straight garbage.
Say it with your chest, Ed.
He's garbage. So anyway, getting back to Giannis. If Giannis, he has to develop into a more rounded basketball player. He's great. He's only 25. He got plenty of time to do that. But as long as he stays in Milwaukee, which is only probably another year or so, unless things drastically change. And I'm not overreacting to this first round. I'm going back to last year when Toronto put the clamps on him and he cried leaving the basketball court.
He had no help.
Right. And he still doesn't have help. And he lost Michael Brogdon to the Pacers.
Right.
So
right.
All I'm saying is that the blueprint is out there. And Milwaukee has not done enough to surround Giannis with really good basketball players. They have a string of NBA players, but they don't have that number 2 stud, that Robin, so to speak. They don't have that person in the building who's going to help him down the road. Now they probably, in a 7-game series, usually the best, right? But in a 7-game series, usually the best team wins regardless. And Orlando, they had a good run. They had Markelle Fultz, local PG County guy.
Markelle Fultz was looking good.
He looked like a number 1
in the water.
Yeah,
it's that PG water.
Right. But all I'm saying is that Giannis, he has to develop his game to a point where he can make other people, he can uplift other people and make them better. And right now, I don't think he's quite at that level. Even though he's the reigning MVP, I think he might be either the reigning defensive MVP too. I might be wrong, but he's in the running this year for that award.
Yeah, I think if he gets it, this to be the year he got them both. If he gets them both this year.
Okay, good. But he needs help because right now he's in trouble. Again, he could probably beat the hapless, the Magic, in a 7-game series. But as far as Toronto or maybe Philly or Celtics,
Philly's done. Philly done.
But their second round matchup, if they win, is most likely going to be the Miami Heat, who are playing the Pacers right now.
That's what I'm scared of.
And that's a tough. The Miami Heat's already beat them 2 out of 3 times this year.
Yeah, they don't want to see that. They don't want that smoke.
So Milwaukee got some issues, and I'm not counting out the Magic. The way the Magic played, and they shut Giannis down in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Vucevic too, boy. Ooh. Oh man.
Yeah. Hey man, where's all these 6'11" and 6'10" and 7-foot players? When did they become point guards and start shooting like they can?
Right.
Like
how did Popovich let them get away?
Like all these big, but all these big men are so skilled in shooting. It's ridiculous. Yeah, they're Europeans, right?
It's the European basketball situation.
Yeah,
everybody in the European basketball learns how to dribble, pass, and shoot, no matter what position you play. They don't tell you a big man get down in the post. You shoot threes, you shoot face-up jumpers, you shoot layups. Everybody does the same shooting drills. Everybody does the same dribbling drills. Everybody does the same passing drills. So you develop those skills from a young kid, and don't forget, they put them in these academies. So they're playing pro-level basketball while they're teenagers.
Yeah.
That's why Luka's so good. Luka's been a pro since he's been 16.
Right.
Well, Giannis need to learn how to get down low and stop bringing the ball up. Get ready to shoot the shot.
He was taught as a European, though. That's why his game is like that.
But then they had nobody else to start the offense.
But that's the problem. You got the other 4 guys watching him bring the ball up. They're going to toss it out, give it right back to him, and just stand there and watch him. That anybody can collapse on.
And that's why I said coaching is Milwaukee's problem, too. They don't have a real good coach.
Well, Ed brought up the Raptors, and I as people who follow us know, I said I thought the Raptors was going to come out the East, and the Raptors are doing what they're supposed to do with the Nets.
Yeah,
they beat them like they was a number 7 seed. Yeah, and they're going to try to get them up out of here 4 at most 5 games and get them out and get ready for round
two. You said it right the first time, 4.
Which leaves us one last team in the East, one last matchup. The Philadelphia 76ers against the Boston Celtics.
Tatum and Brown. Tatum and Brown. Need I say more?
Well, it's going to have to be. It's going to have to be Tatum and Brown because that Cotton Sharman, Gordon Hayward, he hurt his ankle and now he's out again for 4 weeks. Yeah. This is the same person that signed a 4-year, $128 million contract, and I don't think he's played 50 games for the Celtics.
Nope.
I don't think. I would bet money he hasn't played 54 games.
Well, let's just remember this. He's got one more year on that big contract, and when his last year's up, guess who going to start their new contract? Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
They've already played. They've already re-upped Brown. This summer, they're going to re-up Tatum and extend his contract, so he'll start making money just in time when they say, we love you, and if you want to stay a Celtic, you can stay a Celtic, but instead of making $30 million a year, we'll pay you 10.
Hey, listen, I'd rather have Tatum any day than Haywood because Tatum is a workhorse. He produces, he gets the other teammates into the game. You can't lose him.
No, Tatum's
he's not going anywhere.
Tatum's a star. No, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. The one thing that the Celtics are missing that I think might cause some problems somewhere during this playoff run is they don't have any size.
Yeah.
But other than that, and we can't forget about the point guard.
Oh no, Kemba Walker, no sir.
Kemba Walker happy to get out of Charlotte, playing for a real organization and a real team. He like,
sir.
Yeah, if I need to drop 30, I'll drop 30 on this sore knee. Ain't no problem.
He is a true
Hey, Big Reg, that's your phone ringing. Michael Jordan want to talk to you real quick.
Hey, you know the rules here. We just spit facts the way we see it.
Yeah.
I'm glad Kemba's finally in an organization that he can produce and show his skill set.
Right.
Absolutely. So, for all the basketball fans out there, for the rest of the first round, you've got 4 games every day, starting at 1:30 till midnight. So enjoy, because some good basketball going on.
It's messing up the midday conference meetings, but you know, try to keep one eye here, one eye there.
Ooh. All right, so let's move on to the UFC over the weekend. UFC 252, Miocic versus Cormier, Part 3. This was the battle for who is the baddest man in UFC heavyweight championship history. And just to give y'all a little flashback for the non-UFC fans out there, Miocic was originally the champion. Daniel Cormier was the light heavyweight champion, moved up to fight him at heavyweight 2 years ago in a surprising upset, knocked Miocic out with a very short, quick right hook that hit him right on the chin, and it was night. So he became one of the few 2-belt champions holding 2 belts at the same time in 2 different divisions. In the rematch, Cormier was trying his hardest not to fight Miocic. It took them a year to get back to having a rematch because Daniel Cormier was trying to work out a big pay-per-view fight with Brock Lesnar of WWE fame and former UFC title. Wasn't going to be a real fight, wasn't going to be a competitive fight, but it was the big money fight. Brock Lesnar is the heavyweight champion's version of what the crazy guy at welterweight is Conor McGregor. He's the heavyweight version of Conor McGregor. So when that fell through, they fought the second fight. Cormier was beating up Miocic for 3 rounds And then a fourth round, Miocic start going to the body. He start throwing left hooks, right hooks to the body. And then about halfway through that fourth round, the hands dropped to protect the body. He caught him on the chin. It was lights out. So he regained his belt back. So this was the rubber match. Professor J, you and I were texting back and forth. What were your thoughts about the fight over the weekend?
Are we starting the top and going down? That's what we doing, man. I think that eye poke that Cormier suffered was really the biggest difference in the fight. I know he was trying to get out of round 2 when he was taking that punishment, but when that happened in the third round, I thought that took a lot of steam out of his game plan because he admitted that he could not see out of that eye in the corner. He was like, it was just black. So you could see he was still active. He was still throwing punches and everything. He was wrestling, but he just couldn't put together quite what he wanted to do. And I was hoping that he got a good lucky punch in and got him in trouble, and Stipe in trouble, and I think he would have pulled it out. But I knew if they had went to the decision that it just wasn't going to happen. But I thought it was a quality fight up until then. I thought that the ref missed a good poke in the eye. I don't know how that would have done as far as points and everything is concerned. But I think that Cormier has the heart of a champion. He's a lion for real. I think a lot of respect should go out to him. And he's one of the greatest ever. And that's what was said at the end of the broadcast. He's still one of the greatest ever.
Talking about that eye poke, it just wasn't an eye poke. They found out after the fight that Cormier has a let me find it a detached retina? A torn cornea.
Whoa. Yeah. When they showed it in
anything out of his left eye.
Yeah.
Is he going to be okay? Is he going to be able to see again?
He's going to have major eye surgery, and they haven't updated it because they just realized it after the fight. But he didn't make any excuses about it. He said, I couldn't see, but he didn't make any excuses. And it was a tough fight. I mean, they went back and forth for 5 rounds, but Miocic controlled, as they call it, the ring. He started pushing them back up against the cage in the middle of the 3rd, 4th round, hit him with some shoulders, hit him with some forearms and things of that sort. But it was a good fight. And I'm with you, Professor J. If he didn't get poked in the eye, it may have gone different. But at 41, Cormier is one of the best to ever do it. 2-division champ. He's only lost to 2 people. Miocic and John Bones Jones. He's a Hall of Famer. Time to go back behind the desk, do his thing, and enjoy all the money he's made.
But that's interesting. You say he's only lost to 2 men who's considered probably the best light heavyweight to ever be to ever fight, if not the best fighter, period. And then some say the best heavyweight to ever fight, and Miocic. So he ain't got nothing to. I mean, he beat both of them.
Not at all. Yeah, not at all. Yep.
Yeah. So it's a good event. The co-main event kind of.
Yeah, I'm hurt, man. I'm hurt. I don't even want to say nothing. Yeah, I'm hurt.
Had the big build-up, talking about one of the future stars of UFC with Sugar Sean O'Malley. And in the first round, trying to do a low leg kick, the Marlon Vera, his opponent, blocked the low leg kick. And when he did it, O'Malley injured his foot to the point where he couldn't put any weight on his foot anymore. At that point, the fight was basically over. It lasted another 90 seconds, but he couldn't move. He couldn't protect himself. He couldn't kick the guy. He couldn't move. He tried to throw some punches, but he couldn't put his weight on his leg. Fight's over. Yeah. So he ends up getting his first defeat, but he got the defeat because of an injury. Kind of unclimactic.
Yeah.
Sounds disappointing.
Yeah,
it was very disappointing because that was my fight. That's what I was looking forward to.
If you would have seen his previous 3 fights, and his one-punch knockouts that he had in them fights. I mean, but hopefully his foot isn't too badly damaged, and he'll be able to take care of whatever needs to be fixed, rehab, and get back in the fight cage soon. Any other fights catch your eye, Professor? Because I know
you know what made me happy? My man Rosenstruck. Now Rosenstruck made me happy. He made me real happy. Yeah, Biggie man. Boy. Yes.
Yeah.
He punished him. He punished Dos Santos. Was that his name? Yeah, Dos Santos.
Junior Dos Santos.
Man.
Yeah.
Yes, man. That made me happy. That boy is something to be messed with. I'm telling you. Who you think his next fight gonna be?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think Miocic is getting ready to set up a fight with Francis Ngannou.
You sure about that, Dale?
Unless they can pull out the super fight and bring John Bones Jones up to heavyweight, which he talked about. He posted right after the fight. These heavyweights don't look so big anymore.
Yeah.
But the problem with that, he's been beefing with Dana about how much money they're gonna pay him. Yeah. So I don't know if they're gonna be able to work out the financial agreements in time to do it. So I think Miocic is going to end up fighting Ngannou first, and if he wins that John Bones Jones fight could be huge.
Yeah. Huge. Miocic already beat Ngannou though, man. That's why I wanted to see him fight Jones.
I understand, but
still might happen.
We'll see.
Right.
If they can make the money fight. You know what the problem with the money is right now though? No fans. So your whole revenue stream is going to be on the pay-per-view money and not the live gate and the money that you get from the casinos and all that. So I think that's just a tough fight to put together. I'd love to see it. Because John Bones Jones, even though he's a little nutcase, he's the baddest man in the UFC that I've ever seen.
But he's like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get.
That is true.
His legal stuff, man.
Yeah.
But he did give up his light heavyweight belt. I think he was bored. He basically cleaned out the light heavyweight division twice. So he couldn't get himself up to fight anybody in the weight class. So he's either got to go to heavyweight or just get out of the UFC game and hopefully not self-destruct. Speaking about combat sports, let's talk a little bit about boxing.
Oh my goodness! Did y'all see that the fight between Romero and Marinez?
Go ahead, speak on the J3.
Come on.
I was highly upset about it because I could have sworn Marinez won that fight and Romero won it. I'm like, what were the judges looking at?
Yeah, and two of the scorecards weren't even close.
Right. So how did they end up giving Romero, still undefeated, the belt when he didn't deserve it?
And that's J3. One of boxing's problems.
J3, we've been talking about this since who knows, before this show even existed. One of the problems with boxing and the reason that UFC is outpacing it is because transparency and these decisions that just don't make sense. You watch a fight and you're like, is this Jedi mind tricks I'm seeing at the result?
Yeah.
That's boxing. We it's become so ingrained in us that we just say at the end of a fight, oh, that's just boxing. And
the walk away. And the sad part about it was actually a good fight. I mean, they fought the whole round. I mean, all 12 rounds. But clearly, Marinez won that fight.
Yeah. Everybody at ringside said he won the fight by a pretty substantial margin.
Right.
And then when
right.
But that is one of the major problems with boxing, especially with these up and comers. The promoters in the business of trying to protect their future stars, their future champions. So they try to match them with these low quality fighters, and every now and then they get put in a situation where the fighter is a lot better than what they thought, and they end up beating their guys, but they want to keep that O on the boxing record, which is another reason why UFC has been coming out better. If you lose a fight, you lose a fight.
You lose a fight, yeah.
You fight again, build your well back up. In boxing, if you ain't got that, it's hard to get up and in that top echelon. So, boxing's got a problem. Boxing's got to fix that. Plus the fact that boxing doesn't have a centralized organization running it. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about. I mean, when boxing came back 2 months ago, first it was ESPN and Top Rank. They created their own little bubble in Las Vegas at the MGM, and they put on a bunch of fights. They was having fights twice a week, but the quality of the fights wasn't that good. Because Top Rank has a good stable of boxers, and they've even got some champions. But trying to bring fighters together, go through the COVID testing and all that, and then protect their fighters, they didn't put on real good shows. Now you've got DAZN that's back. Premier Boxing Championships has been back for about 3 weeks now. Over in Europe, Matchroom Promotions and Queensberry Promotions with Frank Warren just started fighting again. So I think we're going to start seeing boxing come back and start seeing some real good fights soon. But boxing's got a problem. If they don't take advantage of this time right now, they were already losing steam to UFC. Boxing can become an afterthought with the way Dana White's been doing his business. One of the fights over the weekend, though, that I do want to talk about was my man David Benavidez. David Benavidez is 168-pound ex-super middleweight champion. And the only reason why he's an ex-champion because this fool lost his belt on the scale, missed making weight by 3 pounds.
Yep.
Not just barely missed weight, missed it by 3 pounds, and then had the nerve. He did say it was his fault, but right after he said his fault, but I didn't have the things that I was used to do the final weight cut. I couldn't get into the sauna when I normally do. I couldn't get into the gym and all that. Dude, everybody else on that card made weight, so why didn't you make weight?
And he has his own gym, so why can't you go to your gym?
I mean, come on, dude. Come on, dude. This is the second time this dude has lost his championship, and neither one have been in the ring. 2 years ago, he lost his championship after becoming the youngest champion in boxing at the time for recreational drugs, failing a drug test.
Yeah, man. We know.
But he a beast. If you watch the fight,
oh yeah, he put some combinations on you. He will put some combinations on you. He took it to Aguero, no doubt.
So, I mean, it just frustrated me to just watch all that talent go to waste. But for you boxing fans, just to let y'all know, there is some light at the end of the tunnel coming up very soon.
Mike Tyson and Roy Jones.
Like you said, we talking about real boxing, man. So the first big show coming is going to be September 26th. The Charlo brothers are doing a special split card pay-per-view. The card is going to be on the same night, but they're going to do like an afternoon card with like 4 fights, do a break in between, and then come back in the evening and do another 4-fight card. And they're guaranteeing at least 4 title fights between the 2 cards, possibly up to 6 title fights. After that, in October, we got Vasily Lomachenko battling New York-owned Teofimo Lopez for the unified lightweight title. That's going to be a barn burner. Followed that off, laid off in a month with my man Tank Davis, Baltimore's own, taking on Leo Santa Cruz, another bomb burner. And that takes us into November with the return of Earl Spence Jr. against Danny Garcia for the welterweight championship.
That should be interesting.
Right.
Fight Crawford.
Right.
You know he ain't gonna fight Crawford.
Come on, man. That's our bud.
he talked a lot of trash like he want to fight Crawford, but who he fighting?
Yeah, he ain't want that smoke. He ain't want that smoke.
Remember what we talked about that time when Crawford went in on him on social media and called him all types of stuff. So if you really want to fight that dude, you'd have made that happen. But we got boxing coming back hard. All right, folks. I know we're running a little long, but we got a brand new segment that we want to hit and show y'all, introduce to the world. We've got our post hot takes and updates. Professor J, why don't you hit us with the hot takes and updates?
All right, I'm gonna hit y'all real quick, and I'm gonna hit you hard. I'm mad because one of the updates right now for the hot take is in the first quarter. The Caps are down 0-2 already in the first quarter to the Islanders, and they trying to fight off a sweep tonight. It don't look like it's gonna happen unless a miracle is performed tonight. So tonight, we're going to hit it real quick. These are hot takes just to give y'all some of the most updated information throughout the day. So we'll start with the Washington football team. So training camp has been going without a hitch. And interesting news is that Chase Young has chose number 99. And you say, why? Because some of the greats such as Warren Sapp, Hall of Famer, and future Hall of Famers, Donald and Watt also wear the number 99. So Chase Young is hoping that his play on the field can lead him to the levels of those particular gentlemen. And we certainly wish him well in the Washington area. And what's your fantasy? Fantasy football is right around the corner. Quietly, Tua Tagovailoa is having a very productive and inspirational camp. His fantasy stock is rising, and he and his coach and teammates are starting to fire on all cylinders. You just heard about the Washington Capitals, so I'll just move on. Major League Quick Hit. Juan Soto and Fernando Tatis Jr. of the San Diego Padres are changing the game. They leading us away from those old and stank unwritten rules from these old head Major League Baseball players. Both players are crushing the ball and doing it in blazing fashion. They are hitting homers while already enjoying big leads and admiring their work. It's gone a little bit too long for some of the curmudgeons that are complaining about it. But I love the fact that both managers are sticking up for their players. And I go back to what my man, Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. said. With his baseball cap turned backwards, he said, let the kids play. So shout out to Juan Soto and Fernando Tatis Jr. for doing their thing out there. And y'all already heard some of what's going on in the NBA. Man, what can I tell you? Porzingis got ejected. So sad. Some heartache going on already. Gordon Hayward, come on, man. You always hurt. Simmons and Embiid, that is an injury opera going on in Philadelphia, and you probably won't see them two playing together next year. The Greek Freak looked anything but a freak. In fact, his team looked weak today. And LBJ and AD out in LA, they are initially a question mark right now. But we should see in about 27 minutes what they're going to do. So all this drama in the NBA bubble, let it continue. So last night winners are Nuggets, Raptors, Celtics, Clippers. And today's winners, if you penciled in or even tried to write in those Bucks, go ahead and erase it, scratch it out, and put Magic, because that's what we had to do over here. And then with the current score, the Rockets are on their way to victory. They're up by 20 right now, entering the fourth quarter. So I don't see them having a monumental collapse. So Rockets will win tonight. And tonight's game, Lakers and Blazers, you heard the predictions here. We're going to see what actually happens with that dynamic duo in black. And we're going to see what's going to happen with that purple and gold tonight with AD and LBJ. So don't forget that this Thursday, you got the top 60 NBA mock draft that's already out. The three top prospects are Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball. Yeah, I did say one of them Ball brothers, and James Wiseman. So we're going to see what the order will actually be following the Bucks and Magic game on Thursday at 8:30. So tune in. You already heard about college football, so we're going to move on. So giving love to NASCAR's own Chase Elliott. He did the thing, getting a victory at Daytona Road over the weekend. So we salute you, sir. That is his third straight on the road victory on a course such as that. So that is our hot takes for tonight. We'll see you next week with more hot takes. Turning it over to Big Red.
I appreciate that, Professor. I appreciate that. I like that segment.
That's good.
Well, I'm going to add one little small thing to that. Congrats to my man, Lewis Hamilton. Y'all probably get tired of me talking about Lewis Hamilton. Hey, that man that won 4 out of 6 F1s this year. He just broke the record for the most podiums ever in Formula One history as a black man. And he's within 4 wins of breaking the all-time wins record. And the way he's going, if he keeps up his momentum, he will tie the season championships this year. So hats off to my man. And Sean Porter returns to PBC on Fox this Saturday. Check it out if you want to catch some boxing. The guy he's fighting has an undefeated record, but I've never heard of him, so that makes me think this is another one of those bad matchups. But I like watching Sean Porter. He'll never cheat you out of a fight. All right, fellas, it's time for the final post. What you got for me this evening? Let's start with Professor.
All right, well, we got to give love out to the LA Lakers for this reason and this reason only. On August 24th, which will be game 4 of the first round series against the Trailblazers, they will be unveiling the Black Mamba uniforms to honor Kobe Bryant during that game. So salute to them. Salute to the Bryant family. Our hearts are certainly with you guys, and I'm looking forward to see them don those all black uniforms highlighted with the purple and gold. So much love to the Bryant family and the Lakers family.
I like that. And I heard that Kobe actually had a little part in designing those. Those are going to be a tribute. So now, after his tragic loss, that'll be very special. All right, Ed, what you got for your final post, partner?
I like to send a shout out and a message of support to Kevin Warren. If you guys don't know who Kevin Warren is, he was the original Jason Wright. He's the former COO of the Minnesota Vikings. He's the current Big Ten commissioner. He's the one who actually made the call to shut sports down in the Big Ten this fall. And he is getting blasted by players, coaches, and parents. There we go about them parents. They were all of a sudden reappearing. As far as shutting down the news media, one particular Pat Forday, who writes for SI.com, came down on him and wanted him to be more transparent to his reasons behind shutting the Big Ten season down. And basically, he made the decision based on health and data and not athletics. So congrats to him, and shame on the presidents in the 80s for hiding behind nobody and these parents and these players that want to play. But shame on it. Shame on those people for not supporting this black man who's actually made a decision based on health and safety and not finances.
And let's be real. His name. Kevin Warren didn't make the decisions. The university presidents and chancellors made the decisions. But Kevin Warren is the guy that's out there taking the arrows and is being the public face of the Big Ten.
Right. But these presidents and chancellors are eerily silent right now while he's taking these bullets.
I'm with you. All right, J3, what you got for us?
Just want to give a shout out to the WNBA players and teams. I watched a couple of the games this weekend and thoroughly enjoyed it. Those girls can ball, and they need to get recognition more often.
Amen. I agree. And I'm glad that ABC and ESPN are putting more of their games on TV. Absolutely. And my final post of this evening, I'd like to get a shout out to that man, LBJ, Mr. LeBron James, but not for his play on the basketball court, but for his continued efforts in his More Than a Vote organization. He has pulled together some of the highest powered members of sports and entertainment, that are getting together. They've signed a pledge and a letter to help fight against voter suppression. People like Patrick Mahomes, Alex and Felix, Odell Beckham Jr., Christy Tolliver, Michael Vick, Maria Taylor, Tony Braxton, Kevin Hart, and a lot more are all getting together. They're going to use their platforms and their influence to get unused arenas and unused athletic facilities in the vein of what the Atlanta Hawks are doing to change some of those places into polling locations for November elections, to give people more opportunity and more options to go out and vote. So I like to say hats off to that. They're doing what they need to do, and you got to give props when props are due. If you've followed anything on the news, you know what's happening. We're not going to get into that, but they're actively doing things to stop it from happening, to make sure that everybody can exercise their right to vote in this country. All right, folks, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in and listening this evening. We appreciate your time, your opportunity, and our opportunity to share our positions on sports with you. Please tune in next Tuesday, 7 p.m. for our next live show. We're here each and every Tuesday. You can also download this show and previous shows on our YouTube channel, Positional Sports Talk Show, as well as our Facebook page. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Facebook pages. We greatly appreciate it. Like us. Tell your friends and family members. If you have any suggestions, we greatly appreciate it. Shoot us a message. And most of all, thank you for the time and opportunity to allow us to do something that we really appreciate and enjoy. You have a great week. Stay safe and peace. This is Positional Sports Talk Show.
God bless you.
See ya.